Order the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting of May 14th, 2020. Let the record show that all commissioners are present, with 4 commissioners present via teleconference. First order of business, we will talk about the order of business. Is there any changes or corrections to the order of business, Mr. Hadley?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning to everyone and those that are on the teleconference as well. Item number 5, it should be listed on the agenda as the applicant has requested that this item be tabled. It was tabled last month, if you remember, for our last meeting. Just so you're aware of that.
So we need to take action on that when we get to that, I would imagine.
We do need to take some sort of action. It's either approve, deny, or approve the table request till the next regularly scheduled meeting with my city attorney's approval.
All right, we will wait to get to that one. Second item on our order of business then would be the minutes from the March 18th meeting. Did anybody have any concerns regarding the minutes, changes, or corrections?
Chairman, I'd move to approve the minutes as presented.
We have a motion to approve by Mr. Bullinger. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Stuckart. Any further discussion regarding the minutes of the previous meeting? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed?
Yeah, I can.
Motion carries. All right, we will move on to our first action item. We're having some technical difficulties here, I think.
Mr. Chairman, just to back up a little bit, I do, it's hard for me to hear over here a little bit, but I believe she's indicated we need to do a motion to approve the order of business.
We did.
Can you hear?
Oh.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Let me back up here.
I can hear you clearly. Rich, can you hear?
Can you hear us at all?
No, I can talk to you. How about Brad? Can you hear me? I think I'm gonna get used on Dean if he talks, because I was a little garbled up.
We'll pause for technical difficulties here.
For everybody now to go ahead and put your phones on mute. And then commissioners, if you have comments or want to make a motion or a second, you can unmute your phone, and we'll be able to hear you. And again, if you're here for the planning and zoning agenda items, we will call on you as we get to you.
All right, let's get back, everybody. We seem to be back up and running without video here, but back to the agenda items. It was brought to my attention during the break here, we forgot to take a motion for the order of business. So I'd look for a motion to approve the order of business.
I'll make that motion.
We have a motion by Shirley. Do we have a second? Second. Second by Scott. Any further discussion regarding the order of business? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, we'll move on to our first action item. It's a zone change. It's RDZ-0020-2020. Consider the zone change from agricultural to rural residential for approximately 46 acres located in the southwest quarter of Section 8, Township 139 North, Range 96 West, and the northeast quarter of Section 17, Township 139 North, Range 96 West along 8th Street Southwest in the city of Dickinson, ETZ, Stark County, North Dakota. Mr. Hadley.
Yes, good morning. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This item corresponds obviously directly to item number 2, the plat that corresponds with that. This zone change is from agricultural to rural residential for, as you said, 46 acres. It's along 8th Street Southwest, which is directly east of the golf course. This particular project is a larger lot residential subdivision that's catering to people that want to live around the golf course. Basically, it'll be tied to the golf course with a golf path. Our rural residential designation, as you know, is a designation we use as a transition in the county that allows subdivisions of less than 5 acres. The agricultural zone that it's in right now is a 5-acre zone. Obviously, there is one lot that far exceeds that 5-acre requirement, but the rest of them are much smaller than that. This has been advertised, and there hasn't been any public comment to date to my office on this.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Hadley. Would the applicant like to add anything to that? I think you're on the phone, Mr. Homiston, Mr. Schrank.
Yeah, thanks, Jason. This is Andrew Schrank and Casey Homiston, owners of the subdivision. I don't think we have anything to add for this portion of the approvals. Just we're here for any questions you guys might have.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Schrank. Commissioners, any questions for the applicant or Mr. Hadley? Okay, hearing none, I guess we will, since this is a zone change, we'll open a public hearing regarding the zone change. At this time, if there's anyone in the public that has any comments or concerns regarding this zoning change, please call into the number 701-456-7006 and join the conference and state your name. Once again, anybody in the public with any comments regarding this zoning change, please call into the conference call. We'll give it a couple seconds here. All right, hearing no public comments, we will close this portion of the public hearing. And commissioners, I will look for you for a motion or any further comments.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Bullinger.
am I reading this correctly, that lot 10 is 15 acres, includes that entire back area?
That's
right?
correct, sir. Yes.
Mr. Chairman, I move the City of Dickinson Planning and Zoning Commission recommend approval of REZ 002-20 rezoned to RR as depicted in Attachment A and meeting all the requirements of the Dickinson Municipal Code and also being in the interest of the public health, safety, and welfare.
We have
And
a
no extra requirements or anything.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Karski. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Bullinger. Any further discussion, commissioners? I think we'll do a roll call vote since we can't really hear everybody. That might be the best. With that, we will, Mr. Karski,
Aye.
Mr. Bullinger,
Aye.
Ms. Dukart,
Aye.
Mr. Cordnoy,
Aye.
Mr. Bush,
Aye.
Mr. Franchuk, are you on? Okay. The chair votes aye. Motion carries. Well, if the zoning change has been passed, we will move on to item 2, which is the final plat for the same subdivision. So it's FLP-004-2020 to consider the request for a final plat of the Bluffs addition on approximately 46 acres located in the southwest quarter of Section 8, Township 139 North, Range 96 West, and the northeast quarter of Section 17, Township 139 North, Range 96 West, to create 15 rural lots. The proposed plat is within the City of Dickinson ETZ along 8th Street Southwest in Stark County. Mr. Hadley, do you have anything to add there?
I do, Mr. Chairman. Thank you. I'll be brief because I know we're on a time schedule. This is a final plat that obviously corresponds to the zone change that you just considered and recommended approval for. It is for 15 acres in the rural residential or proposed rural residential zone, 15 lots. The only discussion, staff hasn't received any comments on this particular application from any adjoining property owners. There was one call of inquiry just to across the river from it as to what was going on, but they didn't have any concerns to share with you. The only comment I think is Mr. Kubis is on the line, and he's been working with the applicant on the development agreement. And I believe the scope of where this development's going is the applicant would like to develop all the infrastructure prior to moving forward on the sale of these lots. And if that's the case, then there wouldn't be the requirement for a development agreement to go to the City Commission to approve, because the infrastructure that we're concerned with not only is in the county, so it's a different kind of infrastructure than we normally do in the city, but it's also something that would be existing at the time that new ownership of those lots occurs. So hopefully Craig's on the line, the applicant's on the line. I think they can address that if I misspoke, but I don't have anything else to add. Staff would recommend approval.
Thank you, Mr. Hadley. Mr. Kubis, did you have anything to add?
No, I am on the line, and I believe that to be a fair statement that infrastructure will be going in shortly after this approval, is my understanding. So I do think the requirements of development agreement will be either nullified or very limited in scope.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Kubis. And Commissioners, any questions regarding the final plat application for the Bluffs? Okay, hearing none. This is also requires a public hearing. At this time, we will open the public hearing regarding the final plat of the Bluffs addition. Again, if you haven't heard, the number to call in is 456-7006. We will open the public hearing. So anybody in the public that has any comments, please call in and state your name and give us your comments. Anyone in the public have any comments regarding this final plat application? All right, hearing none, we will close the public hearing. Does the applicant have anything to add before we take action?
I don't believe so. Like you said, we have 15 residential lots planned out there. We're really targeting a higher end development. Our goal is to just plan these, to sell these lots undeveloped. We'll put in paved road, cart path access, lighting, southwest water line, and make sure everything's in place and these are ready to be developed. So we've been coordinating closely with the city since back in January, and we're excited to get started out there.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Schrank. Commissioners, any further comments? If not, I would look for a motion to approve or deny.
I move the City of Dickinson Planning and Zoning Commission recommend approval of FLP-004-2020. The Bluff subdivision preliminary final plot is depicted in attachment A as meeting all the requirements of the Dickinson Municipal Code and also being in the interest of the public health, safety, and welfare as presented.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
So moved.
Is that Mr. Bush?
Yep.
All right. All right, we have a motion and a second. We will take a roll call vote. Ms. Dukart?
Aye.
Mr. Bush?
Aye.
Mr. Karski?
Aye.
Mr. Bollinger?
Aye.
Mr. Franchuk was not on, I don't think. Mr. Cordnoy?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion carries. All right, thank you, everyone. We'll move on to item 3 on our agenda to this morning. It's a special use permit. This is SUP-003-2020 to consider a special use permit for the construction of a wedding venue event-specific facility on Lot 1, Block 1 of the Sickler subdivision along 33rd Street Southwest in the city of Dickinson, ETZ, Stark County. Mr. Hadley, would you have any comments for us on that?
Yes, briefly, Mr. Chairman, thank you. This item is a special use permit. Obviously, this went through a plat. These folks purchased this property with the intent of building a home and then this venue. The venue is actually similar to clubs and other associated uses under the special use permit. That's why they're allowed to apply for this. The reason it's under a special use permit, obviously, it's in a zone that needs to be aware and cognizant of their neighbors and be good neighbors. And if you look through the conditions of approval, basically it's an operation that could go 7 days a week as being proposed. I have put some conditions on there. I haven't heard anything back as far as the applicants have all been given the staff reviews and asked to make comments. So as of to date, I haven't heard any comments that are negative on any of the proposals that I have on here for conditions. I did receive one phone call from a neighbor just to the northwest, I believe he lived. He did have he was inquiring and had some, not really concerns, but just wanted to know what was going on. So I haven't received any negative comments on that since this has been advertised, and staff would recommend approval with the conditions listed in the staff review.
Okay. All right. Is the applicant online? Would they have any additional comments?
Yeah, Jason, this is Andrew Schrank again with Highlands Engineering. We've been working with this applicant on this application and helped them with their layout. As Walter had noted, they plan for a wedding venue, kind of a reception area to host weddings and wedding receptions. The building that they have designed has a really architectural feel. I believe we put some renderings of that building in your packets and really fits in well in the area. It doesn't stand out or feel out of place. We did show some tree rows to the north and to the east where this would be closer to some of the neighbors to help buffer any potential negative impacts with sound or visual impacts. We do have a parking lot shown on this site for around 100 vehicles. That would mostly be gravel with some paved areas for the ADA accessibility. They do have Southwest water approval and would plan to put in a private septic system. I think that's generally what we have. I'm not sure if the owner made it on, but I think they were planning to attend if you did have any questions for them.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Schrank. Is the owner on? And if they are, would they like to make any comments?
Yes, this is Lancy Sickler along with my wife, Jamie. I don't think we have any additional comments to make at this point.
Okay, thank you. With that, commissioners, any questions for the applicant?
No, I think it's a good, we need another venue for weddings, and anniversaries, parties, whatever.
Mr. Sickler, have you guys reviewed the staff recommendation on, what am I trying to say here? The restrictions or?
Yes, we've received that and we've reviewed it, and we are in agreement with, pretty much everything that's in there.
Okay, so there's no problem there. All right, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, if I would add, in the conditions, it's something that we not necessarily would have to do a big annual review, but it's open that if there was an annual review necessary, as felt by staff, because maybe they were doing great out there, we hope they do great, and if they do, then there's probably some sequence of things of those improvements that are listed there that could be finalized then.
Okay.
So
Sure.
it gives us some flexibility right now.
Sure, okay. This would, being a special use permit, also would require a public hearing, I believe. So at this time, if there's anybody on the line that would like to make comments or concerns regarding the special use permit, please do so at this time. State your name. If you are just watching us on the live video feed here, you can call into 456-7006 to make any comments. Public hearing is open regarding the special use permit. Anyone in the public have any comments regarding the special use permit for the Sickler property? Please state your name. Okay, hearing no comments, we will close this portion of the public hearing. And commissioners, did you have any other questions or concerns? Or if not, we'd look for a motion to approve or deny.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Bollinger.
move the City of Dickinson Planning and Zoning Commission recommend approval of Sickler SUP-003-2020 as depicted in Attachment A site plan, meeting all the requirements of the Dickinson Municipal Code, and also being in the interest of the public health, safety, and welfare.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Ms. Dukart. Any further discussion, commissioners? Hearing none, we will take a roll call vote. Mr. Bollinger?
Aye.
Ms. Dukart?
Aye.
Mr. Karski?
Aye.
Mr. Cordnoy?
Aye.
Mr. Bush?
Aye.
Mr. Franchuk? I don't think is on. Did I miss anybody? Chair votes aye. Motion carries. Okay. We will move on to our item 4 on our agenda for the day. It is a final plat application for FLP-003-2020 to consider a request for a final plat of Riddle Acres, a proposed 4-lot rural family subdivision in the southeast quarter of Section 30, Township 140 North, Range 96 West, along 35th Street Southwest, within the City of Dickinson, ETZ, Stark County, North Dakota. Mr. Hadley.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a continuation. There was a single lot that was developed that we approved about 2 years ago, that I believe a home's being built upon now. The family there is actually bringing their kids back home. And I think as a community, as a planning department, as just everyone in Dickinson, it is exciting to see a development that's actually catered to bringing kids back home, because we all, or most of us, have kids. A lot of them leave, a lot of them come back maybe later on. This is an opportunity for this family. Basically, they're dividing up these lots with the intent to have each of their children. 2 of them are going to be building homes, I believe, this summer. So, you know, with that, it's basically just east of the new middle school. 21st turns into 35th in the county. It's directly north of the water tower, the city water tower. It's an area that we've had discussions before that we're really not looking to annex. And this particular owner, I don't believe, has any interest in being annexed into the city or doing any large developments. So staff hasn't received any comments, negative comments on this. I did receive one call from a property owner that was just inquiring what they were doing. Sure. With that, staff would recommend approval.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Hadley. Is anyone on for the applicant? Would we like to make any comments regarding this final plat application?
Hi, my name is Cassandra Lines. I'm here this morning. I don't think I have anything to add, but just here if there's any questions.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Ms. Lyons. Commissioners, any further questions or concerns regarding this?
No.
Okay. With that, we will open it up for the public hearing. If there's anybody in the public that would like to make comments regarding this final plat application for the Riddle Acres, please do so now or call into 456-7006. Anyone in the public?
Yes, hello, this is Bob Prosi of Interstate Engineering on behalf of the Riddles. Cassandra was on this morning and made her comment, and Walter also very similar. This 4-lot subdivision is pretty restricted to family members only, and previous parcels had some family connection. Like Walter mentioned earlier, the odds of Mr. Riddle doing a large development on this is pretty slim. He's into farming, so that's what I have.
Thank you, Mr. Prosiv. Anyone else in the public would like to make any comments regarding this final plat application? Hearing none, we will close the public hearing. And commissioners, any questions? Or if not, we would look for a motion.
I move the City of Dickinson Planning and Zoning Commission recommend approval of FLP 003-20 Riddle Acre Subdivision Final Plat as depicted in Attachment A and meeting all the requirements of the Dickinson Municipal Code and also being in the interest of the public health, safety, and welfare.
We have a motion by Mr. Karski. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second.
Mr. Bullinger beat you to the punch, whoever that was. All right, we will take a roll call vote. Mr. Karski? Aye. Mr. Bullinger?
Aye.
Ms. Dukart?
Aye.
Let's see. Mr. Bush?
Aye.
Mr. Cordnoy?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion carries. The final plat has been approved. Thank you, everyone. With that, we will move on to our item 5, which was the special use permit we were supposed to hear regarding a telecommunications tower. Mr. Hadley, do you want to just give a little update?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I'd be glad to. It looks like we caught up with our time schedule, so that's good.
Yeah.
This project started back in the fall. The applicant started installing and removing antennas on the Jordan building downtown in the fall, and then the city found out about it, kind of helped facilitate because weather was turning. Didn't really make much of an issue of it and said, let them know that they needed to come in for a special use permit application. As you know, that application didn't come in until we had it on our agenda in March, which means they came in February. So, you know, it took probably a month longer to get that application in. They were trying to piece together what they were doing. Where it is today is they still had some issues from the staff review. They were working on the conditions of the proposed conditions of approval. They're working on the facade of the building, buttoning up the building, not only from the standpoint of some broken windows and doors that are not necessarily secured, that not only affects the applicant's operation, but the building owners. It also, because it's an entitlement to that building, they really should address at least the ground floor level of that building and at least clean it up. And we do have some corridor standards that apply to everybody else that comes through the process. I have had numerous calls with the building owner, have had calls and emails back and forth with the applicant. They're aware of it. That's one of the things that they're working on with the owner right now. The other issue that needs to be addressed before this would get a final approval, there's an encroachment in the right-of-way on the south side of the building of the new antennas that were installed in the state right-of-way of the LARD. And as you're aware, we're doing a lighting project, and the state's very aware of all the encroachments, and that's become an issue from all past encroachments that have been allowed in there, so we definitely don't want to allow that. So those antennas would need to be relocated probably to the top parapet wall of the structure or whatnot. They could still get their same coverage, I'm sure, but those would have to be removed. And the plan is that all of the antennas would be painted and matched to the same color as the building, so they would be muted into the building in those upper levels. The cabling that comes out of the rear of the building that isn't the prettiest thing in the world would be covered, boxed in, and also painted and colored with the same color. So the intent is to not go overstep with this particular use, but the building owner is definitely in favor of it. AT&T understands the requirement and understands that what they have there is not necessarily the model installation at this point in time. So with that, I haven't received any comments except for my communications with the owner and with the AT&T representative on this as far as a special use permit application. I would suggest that even though we would like to address it right now, we would like to be done with it, I think that another month of tabling this item might be beneficial, just because it would expedite it. If they have to apply again, obviously that's going to take more time. You're not going to hear it next month. So that would be my recommendation. If you have any other questions, let me know.
My only concerns is that going to be the last time we've pushed this one down the road a few times and they're out of compliance. I mean, Ms. Wanko, what's our legal strategy here if they keep trying to push this down the road? I mean, they're illegally installed now, so.
Mr. Chairman, I think at this point, obviously, as Mr. Hadley indicated, you can approve it, deny it, or table it. I guess the question becomes at the next meeting how much deference you want to continue to give. At that point, you certainly could deny the request and then have them proceed to go through the steps and go through the motions again. But if they are technically not in compliance, then obviously we would use the code with requirements and getting them into compliance, or simply denying it, the motion, or denying the request. And obviously, if the code provides for any remedial action that the city could take because they're not in compliance, then we would explore those options at that time.
Okay. All right, Commissioners, any questions for Mr. Hadley or Ms. Wanko regarding this?
Mr. Chairman, have they done any work on it? I mean, I didn't drive by this morning.
Yeah, I mean, they've moved all their antennas and basically without approval. I mean, and now we have an encroachment into the right-of-way also, which was not there before, because it hangs off the south side of the building.
So what's our option? I guess this is a question for Ms. Wanko. I mean, they're there. If we would deny it, then what? They got to take them down?
Gonna have to take it down.
Essentially, yes. The city would enforce whatever remedies that we had available to have them removed, obviously, if they're not in compliance. And again, if there's any remedial action that we can take that's allowed pursuant to the code, whether that's fines or something of that nature as a punitive measure, but those are options that we would explore in the event that it comes back to the commission next, or the committee next month, and it's not identified or corrected at that point. So there's some options that Mr. Hadley and I can discuss if that becomes an issue.
I mean, for me, it's not a matter of them taking them down. It's a matter of getting proper approvals and making them look better than what they do. I mean, there's cables wrapping around the building, and I mean, it's our main street. I mean, we just need it to look better. So.
Well, I think we should put some teeth into this and say, you have so much time.
Well, I would think that if we table this meeting for the next meeting, if they ask for a continuance again, then I don't know that we be as open to. I think this is the last table, or at last push forward for them, and then we have to do something different. So, 'cause this has been going on for 6+ months.
And Mr. Chairman, if I might, that was exactly the approach I took with Mr. Hadley when he told me the other day that they had requested to table it again. My recommendation was going to be to go ahead and move forward and deny it. He shared with me that some of the discussions were ways to make the building look better, particularly the lower level, and AT&T partnering with the property owner to make some improvements that I think we would all see as needed and is beneficial to our downtown. That's a focal point. I was really concerned that this building has become nothing more than a cell phone tower. And so if they're going to make up some improvements, the building is for sale. It needs significant renovation, but it is a center point of our downtown. It really is a good building. If somebody could save it, probably time is of the essence there. So I do believe one more month is appropriate. I do believe if they don't make this work in the next month that you should deny it. I won't be here to tell you that, but I'm telling you now that there was some concern that the parties didn't know each other very well, and now they're connected. That was a big concern of mine.
I saw that.
Mr. Hadley's made that happen. So I think he understands, and they understand that your concerns, and if it comes back next month, hopefully it's something that you can wrap your arms around. They've made some improvements, and they've made some concessions and changes to their plans, and it's something you'll be able to approve.
Thank you, Mr. Gah. Any other comments, commissioners?
The only thing I could add, just kind of a historical thing, Mr. Chairman, is that if you remember a number of years ago, we had a windstorm and it blew a billboard that was on the top of that building down. There was also some damage, I believe, to some of their cell facilities that they had up there at that time. So since that time, I think they've been trying to kind of scramble to figure out what they're going to do. So I think that, there was kind of an issue with a non-conforming billboard. Now it's gone. Thankfully, it didn't hit anybody or do any damage. But I think that's kind of where this started, and they've been trying to piece it together since then. So.
Okay. Anyone on the line, commissioners, that have any comments? Hearing none. Okay. With that, I guess we would look for a motion to table this to the next meeting.
And we can't add anything in there like, this is the last table. Can I? I'll make a motion.
I think you can say your intent is that this would be the last table.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll make.
Michael, is that?
I think that at this juncture, the strict motion would be, are you going to accept, deny, or table? I think the meeting minutes can reflect, as Mr. Hadley indicated, that the intent of the committee would be that it be the last attempt to table. But certainly, if additional information comes forward at the next meeting, obviously you will want to consider that to make a determination at that point.
Okay.
I just need to make a motion with the.
To table, yeah.
Tabling. Okay. I'll make a motion to table SUP-002-2020 to consider a request for special use permit for installation of telecommunications antenna and equipment on the existing structure located at 41 Villard Street East, City of Dickinson, Stark County.
We have a motion to table. Do we have a second?
Second.
Mr. Karski. Any further discussion? Okay, hearing none, we'll do a roll call vote. Ms. Dukart?
Aye.
Mr. Karski?
Aye.
Mr. Bullinger?
Aye.
Mr. Bush?
Aye.
Mr. Cordnoy?
Aye.
Chair votes aye, motion carries. We will table this to the next meeting. Okay, the next item on our agenda would be work session items, and we have nothing as of right now, it looks like.
I do have a comment for
Oh,
you, though.
Mr.
Mr. Chairman, we have like 2 minutes, and then we'll be out of here. Stephen has been locked in a room for a couple months, and I have 3 amendments that he's been working on, and then he's actually, I've put him to work on taking our code and making it more user-friendly. Basically, right now, you open it up, you look at the allowed uses, and then there's some other standards that apply to it, and then there's some other standards that apply to it. It's very confusing for the public. It's very confusing for staff sometimes to just, honestly, to find and put it all together. He's working on that. I have, like I said, 3 amendments, so when it's appropriate, we'll probably put those on and have maybe when we have like 1 or 2 action items and lots of time to talk with Stephen, we'll have him in and go over those.
Hopefully, we can go back to normal meetings here pretty soon.
That would be nice.
All right, we'll move on then. Items not on the agenda that commissioners would like to discuss? Anything not on the agenda you guys like to discuss? Okay, we'll move past that. Item 6 would be public issues of city concern not on the agenda. Is there anyone in the public that has any concern that they would like to bring up at this time? The number is 456-7006. All right, hearing none, we will close that portion of item 6. Item 7 on the agenda is adjournment. I look for a motion to adjourn.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Mr. Karski,
Second.
Ms. Dukert, we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.